Update. Am I the a-hole? My fiancé told me, this is it. Take it or leave it. So I gave him the ring back and told him to get out of my house. Original post. My fiancé Tom, 37 male, and I, 28 female, have been together for 2 years. He moved into my house 6 months ago and proposed a month ago. I thought we were solid, but now I'm questioning everything. I inherited a fortune 3 years ago. It changed my life, but I live below my means. I work part-time as a teacher, travel, and have a non-profit in the works. I budget carefully so the money lasts. Only my dad and sister know the full amount. When Tom moved in, I paid for everything except most groceries. He wanted us to eventually buy a bigger house together so his dad could move in. I said no to living with in-laws, but suggested maybe a separate unit someday. He pushed back, but agreed we needed to discuss finances first. Tom earns about $10,000 a month and has $100,000 saved. I have millions invested and about $40,000 a month in income from it. When I told him, he was shocked. He said if I have so much, why not just buy the house and cover everything? I explained that just because I can doesn't mean I should. I proposed separate finances, a joint account for expenses, and splitting costs proportionally to income. I also told him I wanted a prenup. That's when things blew up. He argued we should be equal partners, meaning I buy the house in both our names even if he doesn't contribute. We fought about this for days. Eventually, he gave me an ultimatum. Final offer. You buy the house, we each own 50%. I'll sign the prenup. Take it or leave it. I asked if that meant breaking up if I said no. He hesitated, but said yes. So I left it. I took off the ring, told him it was over, and that he needed to move out. He backtracked, saying he didn't really want to end things, just wanted me to agree. He accused me of throwing away our relationship for money. I told him he threw it away by demanding I fund our life and give him half of the assets I work to protect. Now I'm wondering if I sabotaged my relationship. I love him, but I don't think it's fair to bankroll a grown man or accept ultimatums about my own money. Am I the a-hole? Edit. When we first started dating, he understandably questioned how I managed my lifestyle on a teaching salary. I explained that I had a small inheritance which allowed me to buy my house and have some savings to live on. I admit I may have been wrong to be vague, but at the time we were just starting to date and I wasn't comfortable sharing all the details yet. My house is nice, but nothing extravagant. And during our relationship, we always split expenses 50-50, dates, trips, everything. When he moved in, I offered to keep covering the utilities, since I was already paying them, and he would handle groceries. Things were fine until after we got engaged. I pushed for us to discuss everything openly before marriage, and we agreed on most things. About his father moving in. This isn't something he wants right away, but he says eventually his dad would move in so he can take care of him. I adore his father, but I personally don't want to live with in-laws. His solution was that we should buy another house together, so he would feel like it's our home instead of him living in my house. I understood that perspective, but the new house would also have to be larger if his dad were to move in, which I'm not comfortable with. About finances. Initially, when we discussed buying another house, the plan was to contribute together. But once we started looking at what we could afford, we had to lay our finances on the table. When he found out my net worth, everything shifted. He said that if we split 50-50, we couldn't afford a bigger house. And since I had the means, I should buy the house myself, but it would still be our house. I told him that whatever amount he contributes would equal his share of equity in the property. Maybe I was naive, but until this point, I never saw signs of him being a gold digger. He never pressured me to pay for things and always split expenses fairly. That's why this change has been such a shock. Right now, I'm locked in my bedroom, and I told him he can sleep in the guest room tonight, but that he needs to move out tomorrow. We haven't spoken since. That's where things stand. Thank you all so much for the support and comments. It means a lot. Now for the top comments before reading the update. The first dumb thing you did was tell him the amount of money you have, because even if you two do stay together and eventually get married, he's going to be constantly thinking about that money and trying to find ways to get as much of it as he can. You all have got to learn how to stop running your mouths so much. I understand that you have to let your partner know a little bit, but he did not need to know exactly how much money you have. Men can be just as greedy as women. Let a woman find out that a man has a bunch of money, and she's going to do everything in her power to get as much of it as she can. It's going to consume her. Men can be the same way. I think you breaking up with him was probably the best thing to do, because your marriage would have been all about money. I agree with you. I normally don't talk about money or share this kind of information, but since we were engaged, I honestly thought it was only fair for both of us to understand where we stood financially. I realize now that it might have been a mistake, but at the time I truly believed I was doing the right thing for our relationship. Not the a-hole. I was taught firmly and with no nonsense from a very young age to never place an ultimatum I didn't mean, never place it in anger, and never bluff. Not when it comes to relationships, not when it comes to money, not when it comes to family, and not when it comes to employment. So basically never. Ultimatums made to try to push someone into what you want? There's a word for that. Manipulation. That's what people mean when they say no ultimatums in relationships. It's how we confuse them with manipulative bluffing. Never bluff out here, people. Never. It's disrespectful to yourself and the person you're bluffing. Have better ethics and self-pride. An honest ultimatum is a heartbroken proposal coming from a place of having tried absolutely everything else. He's stupid and avaricious too, trying to negotiate with you about money that people died in order to pass down to you. Good riddance. I agree with you. That ultimatum felt really manipulative to me, and I refused to accept that. That's why I was so cold when I called it off. I felt like he was just trying to manipulate me to get his way. Now for the update. This morning, I woke up and Tom had made breakfast and asked if we could talk. He said things got out of control last night and that he wanted to explain his side. He told me he was upset that I had lied about my finances and felt like I didn't trust him. He said the money difference made him feel that I would always have more power in the relationship and that he might be vulnerable to financial abuse. He insisted that he wasn't interested in my money, but wanted to feel that I would choose him over money. He admitted that he handled things badly and should never have reacted the way he did or given me an ultimatum. He said he felt lost and frustrated. The only thing he emphasized really matters to him is his father eventually moving in. They're very close, and he wants to take care of him as he gets older. He apologized, said he didn't want to lose me, and told me he was willing to accept my conditions. I apologized for not being upfront about my inheritance, but I also told him I wasn't sure I could continue the relationship. His reaction last night felt entitled and manipulative, and I'm afraid he was showing me who he really is. I told him I love him, but I'm worried money will always be an issue between us. If he's already pushing for a house before marriage, what else might he push for later? I explained that the only way I could even consider continuing is if he agreed to 1. A bulletproof prenup stating that in case of divorce, he only leaves with what he contributed, nothing more. 2. Agreeing to buy a house together, but his equity would reflect his contribution only. I also suggested options like a guest house for his father or a condo nearby, but not living directly with us. 3. Creating a monthly budget where we both contribute proportionally to our incomes into a joint account for shared expenses, while keeping separate accounts for personal money. 4. Going to counseling together. He agreed to all of this. Still, I told him I don't know if I can trust him again and need time to think. He agreed to go stay in a hotel for a few days to give us both space. Right now, I honestly don't know what to do. Part of me sees his point and wonders if he just overreacted. But another part of me is afraid that if I ignore his behavior, I'll be setting myself up for bigger problems in the future. I would really appreciate your help in figuring out where to go from here. Change the locks on the house while he's at the hotel. I'm serious. Like you said, he's untrustworthy at this point. If you have a sick family member, you and your family look after that person. Dragging someone you've been in a relationship with for 6 months into this is very weird, inappropriate, inconsiderate, and forceful of him. Thanks for the advice. I'm calling a locksmith to change all the locks just in case. We've been together for 2 years, but only 6 months living together. Please don't ever move a man into your home again. I know you were engaged, but next time look for a guy who owns his own home and has equity. I've posted a few comments about people who marry to climb the property ladder. This guy has plenty of cash, or so he says, and could easily own a home or a condo somewhere, but he doesn't. He saw your nice home and figured he could marry you, get you to sell what you have, trade up, and become co-owner. Because once you marry and buy a new house, that's marital property. Don't do this again, please. You don't need to date men in your financial bracket, but find one who did what you have done. Invest in a home for himself. Money doesn't change people, but it exposes their true self. Take that information as you will. It's funny because my relationship mirrors OP's in a lot of ways. I make about half as much as Tom. My partner has several millions of inherited wealth across various accounts and trusts, and when her father dies, she'll inherit around $20 million more. We are engaged currently. Tom's behavior is very strange to me. Like I said, I make about half as much as he does, about $5,000 take home per month, but I consider that a good job. I'm a nurse, so I have a lot of security. I'll never be independently wealthy, but I will always be able to afford a modest but comfortable lifestyle. Because of that, I want no part of my fiancé's finances. The house we live in is hers, and I am so fortunate for that because I don't pay rent. I also don't have to worry about major unexpected expenses. Cat needs surgery, car broke down catastrophically, house flooded. My partner has got it covered. I cover groceries and pull my weight when it comes to house chores. I keep her informed of how much I have in my accounts, and if she needs me to chip in a bit more, I do, but mostly I can save a lot of it. We have an ironclad prenup in the works right now, and we were both very clear early on about requiring such a thing prior to marriage. I've seen how stressful it can be managing so much money. It's a blessing in our lives, but it's also a huge burden and a ton of work for my partner in a lot of ways. I want no part of that stress. I'd much rather support my partner from the sidelines without staking any claim to her fortune, because at the end of the day, I benefit hugely from that fortune, even if I am not gaining equity on a house or anything else. I don't factor in breaking up, because that was never my money to begin with. It's nice to know that despite the wealth disparity between us, we agreed really early on that we'd keep our finances mostly separate, responding to each other's financial needs on a case-by-case basis, and that we wouldn't fight about money. Over 3 years in, we've kept up that bargain. I couldn't imagine laying out ultimatums to own a stake in my partner's home, demanding she support my family with her money, etc. It just seems so wildly presumptive, entitled, manipulative, and simply greedy. There is a world of difference between I need financial support or my father will be homeless and buy me and dad a mansion so we can all move in together. What? No, a guest house is unacceptable, even though you've been clear about not living with in-laws. As if being rich means you can't have boundaries around how you want to live your life. It's fishy to me because it's exactly the opposite instinct I have with my partner. I simply don't care about her wealth outside of it being extremely convenient in the case of true emergencies. All I want is a healthy, loving relationship with this person, and I am so lucky to have that. Why would I demand more? Tom is a fool for pushing his luck, and I just do not understand that motivation. I have no explanation for it aside from good old-fashioned greed. It also says so much that he accused OP of lying about her finances. Newsflash, Tom. Many wealthy people keep it low-key because people get weird when they know you have money, like you are doing now. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my kids 11 and 13 to travel to the Middle East, Dubai, with their dad this winter to visit his family? I, 41 female, had a very difficult marriage with my ex-husband, 42 male, who was financially and emotionally controlling. We lived in the Middle East after our marriage, where he kept control of my and the children's passports and restricted us from traveling. His family constantly interfered and caused conflict, and because he was financially dependent on his father, he never defended me. Eventually, we came to the US with my children. His family told me I could only return if I followed their rules. Sounds crazy, I know, but I chose to stay in the US, built a career in IT, and ultimately left the marriage. Since then, we've been co-parenting. I have primary custody, and while he pays child support, he refuses to provide clothing or essentials for the children and instead deducts those expenses from my child support payments. I currently have a case pending with the Division of Child Services regarding his violations of our agreement. He does not have a job and relies on his family for income. Earlier this summer, he asked if the children could go with him to the Middle East. I told him I was not comfortable with that, especially given the risk that he could keep them there without my consent. Since then, he has been ignoring me completely. He only speaks through the children, has ignored over 20 of my messages, and I later discovered he blocked me. During this time, I was handling all of the children's medical and school needs, including physicals, dental cleanings, orthodontic consultations, and back-to-school preparations, without any input or communication from him. He has also made inappropriate comments to the children, telling them I am just mad because I can't afford to go to the Middle East, and even laughed about it with his brother in front of them. Now, with his brother's girlfriend expecting a baby in December, he wants the kids to travel there for the birth. But given his history of control, the lack of communication, his habit of deducting child support, and the very real legal risks of the children not being allowed to return, I do not feel comfortable allowing them to go. Am I the a-hole for not letting them go to Dubai to visit my ex's family? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Get a lawyer. Make sure you keep possession of the children's passports. Get the 13-year-old a phone and a code to transmit if something shady is about to go down. Sorry, just seeing these comments. My ex unfortunately has their passports, so I am going to research how to get a travel ban. I don't see him taking the kids without my permission, but because of his lack of communication, anything is possible. Don't wait. Lawyer up. Make sure he cannot take the children out of the country. Get a court order. Do not delay. This is not a wait-and-see situation. This is a call your lawyer yesterday situation. Protect yourself and the kids before he does anything questionable. Not the a-hole. High risk you will never see them again if they go. It reminds me of a story in Canada whereby the ex-husband took the child on vacation to his home country and left his daughter there. He returned to Canada, was charged and jailed, but his daughter refused to return. The father's family influenced her and she didn't want to see her mother, even though the judge told the man to have his daughter return. I felt horrible for the mother. She was depressed and was suffering. They turned her daughter against her, and she now lived in another country that made it difficult to pursue further legal action. There are more of these types of stories online, so it's not uncommon. Also, I don't know if this would help, but get a lawyer and perhaps contact authorities. Because if your ex has their passports or gets them new ones, it's easy for him to take them on vacation and you not know. I'm not sure what the protocol is, but it's best to have something in place in case your ex pulls this type of stunt.